Howdy Tallahassee, this is student meteorologist Evan O'Regan bringing you the Friday edition of FSU weather. And I would say happy Friday, but the skies don't really seem all that happy. There's a lot of rain coming in. That rain sure is saying howdy because it's coming into the Tallahassee region here. And there are plenty of thunderstorms around, sitting at 65 degrees right now at Tallahassee International. And those thunderstorms not only are around now, they were around this morning, and they'll be around tonight and as well as tomorrow. And we'll detail that all for you coming up here on our show. Temperatures are still in the lower to middle 60s across much of the Big Bend region. We are cooler as we head further north because, well, that's how temperature works. We go further north, colder air is usually located there. We'll also detail this graphic here, the Earth revolving around the sun, so in a little bit of an explanation on why we experience some seasons that we do, especially because, well, we're in winter, so that would be this icon right here. So I'll be explaining that later on in the show as well. But we do have rain, and yes, you guessed it, even more rain for tonight and tomorrow. Why the weather patterns change with the seasons, and how many cowboy hats can you spot on this Rootin' Tootin' Friday show? All that and more on FSU Weather.
Howdy y'all, welcome to FSU Weather Friday edition. I'm student meteorologist Melissa Geiger, and it has been a super gloomy day outside today. Not really enjoyable at all unless you got out really early this morning. Maybe beat that rain. We're definitely having a pretty big rain event right now with 2 to 4 inches of rain expected for pretty much the entire area with isolated areas of 6 to 8 inches, so some pretty drastic rainfall. And coming along with that is a flood watch, which is currently in effect right now, and will look to be continuing into Saturday night. So something to look out for as this rainfall continues. There is a chance that we will see flooding, low-lying areas or areas that are just prone to flooding that have poor drainage. But also we're going to have that drop in temperatures coming this weekend, and as that cold front comes through and continues to dump that rain, warming up that in the midweek. But on tonight's show, make sure you're looking out for those cowboy hats. Keep count and drop it in the chat if you notice how many there are, and we'll announce the winner at the end. But I'm going to turn things over to Elizabeth to get you started on your weather.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Yeah, just as Evan was explaining earlier, we're not looking too hot on our Doak Campbell Stadium camera. We're seeing those raindrops on the camera right now, and it's looking pretty dark as those clouds are moving in as we're seeing some storms, which I'm sure you have experienced this afternoon. It is currently 65 degrees, winds not too bad coming out of the east-southeast at 3 miles per hour, and of course, those thunderstorms are coming through. Kind of the same story on our St. George's Island camera. We're seeing these raindrops on the camera. The waves look a little bit choppy right now, even though it's not moving, but you can kind of see like the rising there, and it's cloudy there as well. It is currently sitting at 65 degrees. There are those thunderstorms again. Actually, the winds are sort of calm, so those may not be waves, but again, we're seeing the same story over there. And then in Bradfordville, it doesn't look like it is raining on our camera right now, but we are seeing those clouds up there as those storms are coming in. It is sitting at 68 there, winds out of the east-southeast at 3 miles per hour. As we looked through our day today, we didn't get too warm today because of those storms that came through. We started at 64 this morning as you woke up, and then moving into the afternoon hours, we only hit 67 degrees, and now we are starting to drop off those temperatures again as we head overnight. So our high today was 68 degrees, which we were actually pretty close to our average for the first time in a pretty long time, but our low temperature since we woke up without those storms was a little bit, well, not a little bit, quite above our average temperature, which was 43 degrees. But I am pretty happy that it wasn't our record low of 14. So here is our radar right now. We're seeing those storms move through the area, and these darker green shaded areas, those are all in a flood watch because this storm is going to bring some locally heavy rain to areas around the Big Bend region. Across the rest of the region, though, we're seeing lower 60s up in southern Georgia, 66 again here in Tallahassee, 66 down by the coast in Apalachicola, and 60 in Donaldsonville right now. And our current dew points, it is very, very muggy, 65, only 1 degree off from our real temperature here in Tallahassee. A little bit drier up north in Donaldsonville, but again, seeing just very wet conditions across the area. Heading into tonight, we're going to see those storms continue through the area. We're going to get down to 56 in Tallahassee, 60 in Perry, 58 down by the coast in Apalachicola. As we look at our future radar, we're going to see this rain is not really going to subside in at least our next 12 hours. And this is heading into this time tomorrow. We'll see a little bit of a break, but then we see up to our north and west, we do have some rain that is going to come sooner. And then tomorrow, we are sitting at the same temperatures as we did this weekend. But now I'm going to head off to Nikki to talk about the rest of the state of Florida.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We are currently seeing the week ahead, but the Florida radar and Miramar Beach, we are looking at gloomy skies, very not ideal conditions to go out. As you can see, 59 degrees, raining, a little bit of a wind, not really a great time to go sun tanning or swimming in the ocean. In the Panhandle, we are just seeing wet conditions. We're seeing bands of rain coming in the eastward direction. It has been a very rainy day all day. Ever since I left my class this morning at noon, it has just been pouring, or more of like a light rain, but still very wet, very not great driving conditions as well. Downtown Orlando doesn't seem to be getting this memo. We do have scattered thunderstorms in the Orlando area, but downtown right now is looking pretty beautiful, a couple clouds, but nothing too bad, but it's also very toasty, very hot. Looking again at the North Florida, we're seeing, in our area, Tallahassee and around there, we're seeing the big spot of rain. But as you head more east, we're seeing another littler band of rain, but still pretty bad, probably very wet around the Butler Beach area as well. In Duck Key, as we head south towards the Keys, we're also seeing just beautiful conditions. They really just did not get the rain memo. Just gorgeous outside. Look at that beautiful blue water. I wish I was there right now, but I honestly do like rainy conditions every once in a while. And as you can see, it's the Keys. It's going to be toasty, 80 degrees. For the southern part, as I said, they're not really getting the rain memo. We're seeing a little bit of rain towards the middle, but as we get farther south, we're just seeing maybe a couple scatters, but nothing compared to our friends up in the north of Florida. Very drastic differences in the precipitation. For tonight's temperatures, we are seeing, as the more north you go, it's going to be a little bit cooler. Very mild temperatures all across the top of the Panhandle and in Jacksonville, but the farther south you go, Orlando 77, Key West 79. It's almost like summery conditions, but it's only February, yeah. Dew points, it's also pretty moist. It's Florida. It's always humid here. As we go into Pensacola, it is a little bit lower dew point at 54, but 60s around basically the rest of Florida, and even 72 in Key West. Tonight in Florida, we are just seeing, mild temperatures, as I said, up here, and it raining in Pensacola, Tallahassee, and Jacksonville. And the farther down you go, the warmer it gets. And the radar into tomorrow is also basically the same. And now I'm going to pass things off to Winique to look more at the southwest. Is it wet out there as well?
Well, it's a pretty active scene right now in the southeast, and we have that pesky cold front hovering over Tallahassee. So we're seeing that widespread shower and storm activity in Tallahassee, but right now in Tennessee and North Carolina, look at it. It's picture perfect, not a cloud in the sky really in Charlotte, and those temperatures are in the mid 60s. Now temperatures are slightly cooler in Nashville at the high 40s, 49. You can see right here, Tampa is quite warm. They are ahead of that approaching cold front, so they are warmer considering this time of year, and we will see those temperatures start to rise as well as the days progress. Now that front is currently hovering over the Big Bend and Panhandle, so you can see this low pressure system hovering, bringing showers and storms with that front. Now we have that possibility for possible localized flooding as well with this front, and we could potentially also see some thunderstorms. So keep that in mind for your weekend plans. If you're headed out this weekend, be sure to build in some extra time on those roadways because we could potentially see that localized flooding. Now current temperatures across the Big Bend and the state of Florida are in the 60s. Rainy patterns from Tallahassee to Jacksonville, but you'll see behind that front to our west, and Montgomery currently in the upper 50s. Little Rock, you are in the 40s. Shreveport, you're in the 40s as well. And Nashville, temperatures in the lower 50s, but they are not seeing rain currently. So these winds are suggesting that frontal activity. We have these northerly winds shifting in behind that front. With the cold front, we typically see those wind shifts. So behind the front, we typically see those northerly winds, and you can see ahead of that front, we have those winds shifting from the south. Now, as that front makes its way through the Florida Panhandle, we will see that front make its way off of the Atlantic, and those showers and storms will subside by Sunday. Now, we will have our next round of high pressure built into the Gulf, and that high pressure will bring us much favorable conditions. So you can expect much better temperatures in terms of our highs and our lows, and we will not see a rainy pattern next week. Now, as we look at our muggy cast, it is quite dry. Now, we have that cold front lingering right now over the Panhandle, so you can see these brown colors suggest that drier pattern. And as the days progress, that dry air will seep down into South Florida. So South Floridians, I'm sure you will be very, very happy to see that drier air because it's typically very muggy in this time of year. Now, if you're headed to Charlotte, it's rainy. Saturday, you can see we have a 70% chance of rain. Those rain chances will increase even more to a 90% chance of rain on Sunday, so it's going to be rainy across the southeast. But Ryan, how's it looking for the rest of the nation?
The rest of the nation, besides the southeast, is looking pretty good. I think just kind of the southeast is in this rainy pattern, but you'll notice with the rest of the southeast that, yes, there's a lot of rain here, but look at the rest of the U.S. We've got a lot of high pressure, which is bringing some nice weather. Off the west coast, we'll see a couple of pop-up showers and storms, but notice where most of the precipitation is, it's going to be right here, scattered over the Gulf of Mexico and southeast. That's where we're going to see a lot of the precipitation and rainfall. But notice across Texas and most of the heartland is where we see some drier air, some better weather. And temperature-wise, really the southeast, warmer than average for right now. Getting up to the northeast, we are warmer than we were last week when we had feels like temperatures nearing 100 below. And then looking off to the west coast, when it was Seattle, sitting about 51 degrees, cloudy. San Francisco, 56. Los Angeles, you're pretty warm, sitting at 73 degrees. And over in Denver, about 40 degrees. No snow or anything to talk about there. In Chicago, 34 degrees. Memphis, you're sitting at about 49 degrees. So most of the country is experiencing nice weather. Just kind of us in the southeast where we're experiencing some wetter weather. You'll notice most of Florida and parts of the southeast are experiencing those more humid conditions. But the rest of the U.S., mostly rust color, where it's a lot more comfortable out. Some places you may even need to put some chapstick on to keep those lips a little moisturized. So we'll notice with the maximum temperatures that most of the U.S. is about average. We'll notice some parts, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, were above average. Texas and parts of Oklahoma and New Mexico, you're below average for this time of year. In Florida and all up and down the East Coast, we are seeing above average temperatures, and that pretty much correlates with our low temperatures as well, where we're seeing above average low temperatures for this time of year. Just in parts of Texas, New Mexico, up into Colorado is where we're seeing some more below average temperatures. Much of the U.S., so especially further east, is seeing above average temperatures. So looking at our drought monitor, you'll notice the East Coast, we had a drought. We're starting to get out of that drought. Now, Florida, we're still seeing a little bit of a drought, but not as bad as we're seeing in Texas. Oklahoma, getting up into Nebraska, and even Colorado is starting to see some drought. Now we've got to keep our eye out for wildfires to pop up, especially across Colorado, Oklahoma, and Texas, where we're seeing the drought really take effect. Tallahassee, we're getting out of that drought, like I mentioned. The drought's going away, and this is a big part of why. Take a look at this. We're going to see rainfall stick around for the next few days as this big area of part of a cold front starts to work its way in from the Gulf of Mexico. We noticed a wet day today. We'll continue to see wet days. Looking up into the northeast, though, we're just a couple snow showers getting into New York from Canada, but from the rest of the East Coast is looking pretty clear. West Coast, just a couple spotty showers off the coast of California, Oregon, and Washington, and for the most part, they are looking very good. Out west, we're dry, and again, in that drought. So overnight tonight, we'll see temperatures on the warmer side in Florida. We'll see mostly cooler temperatures through much of the U.S. Next few days, we're we're going to see temperatures above average in the east and below average in the west. So, Elizabeth, what are we looking at for the weekend storm in the southeast?
So as we see in Tallahassee, we're seeing those rainy conditions here, and this is probably the rest of the story for the rest of the southern portion of the southeast. Here is our rainfall outlook. This little yellow area is where we're going to see a marginal risk for heavier rain showers, and then this green portion around it, they have a lower risk for those heavy rain showers. But then as we head into tomorrow, we see this yellow portion really grow as we take in most of the Big Bend region, mainly central and southern Georgia and southern South Carolina, as well as we're going to see those high rainfall amounts move through. But then by Sunday, that threat has moved out of our area, but then it's heading into the Norfolk area. But that rain isn't going to be as big of an issue. So by tomorrow night, by 9 o'clock, so we're going to see the most severe threat move out of our area, but then we see these red, the red shadings more north of us, and then I actually see some snow up there on the radar, which is possible with this storm. But then as we move into Sunday afternoon, we see some more rain showers up to our north, but the main area of rain has moved offshore. And then here is by Monday this time, the rain threat has moved out of the area, mainly in the ocean. So by Monday, this rain is going to be out of our area. Here is our GFS rainfall forecast. So this red portion right here is where we are likely to see 3 to 5 inches of rain, which is pretty crazy. But then as we look at our Euro model, we have this red portion become even bigger and span a little bit into southern North Carolina, and then we have our Tallahassee right on the edge of the 1.5 to 2.5 inches, and then the 3 to 5 inches right there. So rain is going to be a big factor in this situation. Snow is also going to be possible. This is our GFS snowfall forecast for the northern parts of the southeast, and then this is our Euro as well. So not too much snow, but still something to be watching. So our severe storm outlook for today, we saw those thunderstorms move into the area, but then Tallahassee has been moved into a slight risk for tomorrow, and then on Sunday, not really much to be concerned with in our area. But now we're going to take it off to Evan to talk more about seasonal weather patterns.
Yeah, that's right, Elizabeth. But first, I'm actually going to point out something just to help everybody out a little bit with our cowboy hat search. This is what you're going to be looking for. See that little cowboy hat there saying howdy there on a Friday show? That's what we're going to be looking for, just in case you need a little helpful hint for what to be on the lookout for. But now back to why we have seasonal changes around, our planet, really. It all starts with the sun and how it heats up the Earth unevenly. There's an uneven distribution of energy from the sun around the globe, and that has to do with the 23.5-degree tilt that the Earth's rotational axis has. So I'll get to that later on with more images, but that results in more or less daylight depending on the season. So during the summer, we have more hours of daylight. During the winter, like we are now, we have less, and this is why. You can see here, this point A, that's the northern hemisphere summer. So you can see how the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. So that means that the North Pole is actually getting a midnight sun. It's bright there year or season long. And then as we transition to fall, we start to lose daylight hours, and then we head towards winter. That's when we have our least amount of daylight, and the North Pole is in a polar night. And that midnight sun transitions down to the South Pole. And then we reverse it all again. We go to spring, and then, of course, summer here in the northern hemisphere. So that has to do, again, with this 23.5-degree tilt that the rotational axis has. This is an example of what the northern hemisphere winter looks like when we have less daylight here in the northern hemisphere and the summer season here in the southern hemisphere, and that has to do with the sun's rays. And here's a great example as to why, and this is a beautiful graphic put together by our producer Aaron. He's way too much time on his hands. That's why we have that those cowboy hats in there. But again, We have more direct sunlight during the summer and less in the winter, has more of an angle, so that's part of the reason why we get less daylight. And it also has an effect on our jet stream. So we get more heat and humidity in the summer with the jet stream further to the north. And as we get into the winter months, we get more of a polar vortex shot when that jet stream comes further down to the south. But Melissa, I know that rain is saying howdy around Tallahassee, so we have an update on that, I assume.
Yes, we do. We are getting a ton of rain. Howdy, y'all. It's me, Melissa, back to give you Tallahassee's weather one last time before we end the show tonight. Doak Campbell Stadium, pretty rainy right now. There's even raindrops on the camera, making it a little bit of a blurry view looking over Doak Campbell Stadium. But it's currently 65 degrees. Again, thunderstorms moving through the area, not expected to change anytime soon. So we are seeing some pretty miserable conditions. Again, not clearing up. Local areas seeing pretty much the same thing. The entire area is seeing effects from this system. Cloud cover and rain everywhere. Raindrops on almost every camera here except at Lake Bradford. Might be a little raindrop there. So really, again, that's not going to be stopping anytime soon. We're going to see this rain persisting through tonight into tomorrow and even going into late tomorrow night. So again, that's where our flood watch is coming from. We are having a lot of rainfall in not that long of a time. So that is why we need to keep an eye out. If you see flooded streets, turn around, don't drown. Make sure you're not going through flooded areas and potentially getting yourself stuck out there. Current temperatures staying around the 60s for the entire area, a little bit cooler up north, Donaldsonville, Thomasville, Valdosta, and the low 60s, but staying in the mid 60s and down towards the south. And we're going to see those temperatures dropping here in the next couple days into this weekend behind all this rain coming in and clearing out with that. So tonight, dropping down a little bit lower, 55 in Monticello, 56 Tallahassee, a little bit cooler up north, 53 in Bainbridge. And it'll cool down continuing through this weekend, which we'll see in here in a minute. But for tonight, stargazing conditions are not that great. Again, it's cloudy skies, it's miserable outside. Probably not a great night to go try and watch the stars. Sunset, it was at 6:22, so probably just past here. And sunrise will be at 7:22 a.m. Maybe we'll get a little break in the clouds, see some cool sunrises. If you do get a cool picture of it, make sure you send it to us. And 79% waning gibbous, so hopefully it'll all clear out, and by the time that full moon comes, you'll be able to enjoy that. Future radar showing that rain coming through pretty much nonstop through Tallahassee and the surrounding area through Saturday evening, and maybe clearing up a little bit late Saturday evening, around 6 p.m. Maybe we'll get a break from that rain, maybe still having a little bit come through. So just make sure you're staying up to date and keeping aware of what's going on. For tomorrow, 67 in Tallahassee, 60s in surrounding areas, and that's our highs. So again, we're seeing those cooler conditions. As for our airports, not expected to have any delays due to this rainfall at this time. Tallahassee is clear, and so is most of the areas around here as well. For our coastal conditions, 62 in the air, 64 in the water, so a bit brisk. Maybe you'll be able to enjoy it. Maybe wait for that rain to stop, though. But for the week ahead, it is Super Bowl Sunday. You see those temperatures dropping for this weekend and warming up middle of next week, right in time for Valentine's Day, so maybe you can enjoy a night outside with your special someone. But we're going to turn things over. Ryan, is it ever going to stop raining for we can enjoy our Super Bowl Sunday?
It is going to stop raining for Super Bowl Sunday, and I also have the forecast for Phoenix, where they will be hosting a Super Bowl. But first, let's take a look at Blacksburg, Virginia, where FSU women's basketball is going to be playing. It's going to be cold. We're going to see mixing of rain and snow, 36 degrees throughout the game. I don't know why I'd want to be at that basketball game because I can just watch it on TV where it's not 36 degrees and almost snowing. But taking a look at our future radar, not really a lot of precipitation per se, more just clouds kind of moving through the Blacksburg and Roanoke area over the next day or so. I think for the most part, we're not really going to be dealing with much issues getting to and from the game. It's just going to be a little bit cold and miserable. For tomorrow, I think cold and miserable kind of goes with men's basketball as well, even though it's here in Tallahassee. 58 degrees, barely reaching 60 degrees during the game. Thank God it's inside because that is not that comfortable. And you know what's not inside? Women's softball. I think you might want to say howdy to that tarp because it is going to be just kind of a bad day to be playing softball. And I played baseball all my life, and you know, rain, look at this. This is not really outdoor sports material. Just look at all this rain pushing its way through the region tomorrow. And I think we want to say howdy to the Super Bowl. Those of you in Phoenix, you are the sports mecca of the world, hosting the WM Open this weekend and the Super Bowl, 71 degrees. I've watched some of the WM Open where it's beautiful, and the future radar, nothing really to see, just clouds moving through the area. So Monique, how's the rest of the area look for us?
Maker here in the Tallahassee and Big Bend area, and look at that widespread shower and storm activity over the panhandle. You can see this will persist until Saturday, so those rainy conditions will persist, and we can expect possible gusts of wind very high at times on Saturday. But the good news is by Sunday those rain showers will make their way through just in time for Super Bowl Sunday. So tonight, if you have any outdoor plans, temperatures will remain in the lower 60s until about the overnight hours, reaching the mid 60s. But again, those rainy conditions will persist into the overnight hours. And tomorrow morning, if you're walking your pup, be sure to grab a jacket and an umbrella because temperatures will be in the mid to upper 50s. But look at that, those rain showers will continue until about right before lunchtime, and temperatures will reach the 60s. Now, the good news is tomorrow by 11 a.m., those sunshine will make an appearance, and by Saturday, we will see those rainstorms continue when the afternoon hours continue. So by 3 p.m. we can expect those rainy conditions to continue, and we will really see those conditions really continue until about Sunday, and then Monday we can expect much better temperatures and conditions. Now, there are no delays right now in Tallahassee, but despite that, we would still say and suggest to build in some extra time. If you're headed to the airport, you know how airports can be, and with that rain, that is a factor to possibly build in extra time. And across the nation, there are any delays, but keep in mind that in Denver, it's currently in the upper 30s. So if you're headed to Denver, it's chilly as well. So tonight is not a great night for stargazing. Those conditions are poor due to that those rainy showers pushing through the area. So if you possibly want to get some stargazing in, I would say that early next week would be a better time to do so. So in terms of temperature and rain for the weekend, those rainy conditions, as I mentioned, will stay with us until Sunday. Sunday, we have a much better chance of rain at 10%, and by Monday, we will see much better conditions. That sun will peek through and temperatures will reach the upper 60s. Now, Tuesday, on Valentine's Day, we will have a slightly higher % chance of rain. Temperatures will increase to the lower 60s. So we can expect much better conditions, and we have that high pressure building into our area, and we will see the effects of that high pressure by Tuesday. And as I mentioned, over the weekend, we will see those rainy conditions. So if you have any outdoor plans, be sure to build in some extra time, pack your rain gear, and possibly go indoors. But I'm going to pass it off to Nikki to close out our show.
Howdy, or should I say, so long, partners. We had an amazing show today. It's been raining all day in Tallahassee. It's probably going to be raining a lot tomorrow. Hopefully, it'll get a little bit better by Super Bowl Sunday. I don't know who you're rooting for, but I'm personally rooting for the Whopper commercial. I hope that they play it. We are going to just like have a great weekend. Tonight, there's a lot of things going on in Tallahassee. We have a lot of things going on pre-Valentine's Day, which is coming up on Tuesday. Follow us on Twitter. Twitter.com/FSU Weather. We got a lot of things going on there. Like us on Facebook. We keep you updated on shows. Watch us live on YouTube. We did not have anyone answer the question of how many cowboy hats there are, which was 7. Make sure to follow our Instagram, and also make sure to follow our TikTok. I hear someone really cool runs that account. You can see all behind the scenes on FSU Weather and more. I hope you have a great weekend, and now we'll go back to the 7-day to close out the show.